Bluestone makes investment loans simple with competitive interest rates. Borrow up to 85% of the value of your investment property without paying lender's mortgage insurance, and no cap on existing investment portfolio size. Plus, personal Bluestone support from application to settlement. So don't wait to unlock your future. Bluestone, award-winning home loan solutions. Find out more at bluestone.com.au/investors. Lending criteria, T's and C's and fees apply. Credit provided by Permanent Custodians Limited, Australian Credit Licence 390183.
Welcome to the Smart Property Investment Show, the podcast by investors for investors.
Okay, everyone, how are you going? Phil Tarrant, host of the Smart Property Investment Show. I hope you're well in lockdown. We're in lockdown at the moment. I was just looking at the television. The Premier New South Wales, Gladys Berejiklian, updating with the numbers a little bit better today than what it was yesterday, but it would, reading between the lines, indicate that we're probably going to go for about another week or so extension on this current lockdown. That doesn't stop us as property investors, doesn't stop property markets moving. It's just a bit of a headache trying to look at places, but life goes on. Investor stories, very much the heartbeat and the backbone of this podcast. And I get a real kick out of reconnecting with people, albeit this time over Zoom because of the lockdown that we had on the studio over 4 years ago, which is reminds me how old I'm getting and how long we've been doing this. But it's going to be good to reconnect. When we last got together with these two people, we had a really good discussion about what their game plan was and where they would be in the future. So guess what? The future is here. We're going to see how they've gone about doing it. Simon and Vanessa Ruffalo. Guys, how you going? Good to see you. You well?
Yeah. Good to see you, Phil.
Yeah, you guys haven't aged a day.
You too. You're looking well. You're looking well.
Trying to, but where's lockdown for you guys? Whereabouts are you based?
Yeah, well, we live in Ingleburn, so we're working from home. Both our jobs allow us to work from home.
Well,
yeah,
temporarily.
Yeah. So last 2 weeks, I've been working from home.
Okay, and I'll note, I'll timestamp this podcast. We're recording this in your lunch hour, so
True.
It was deliberately planned around your lunch hour. So
Thank you.
That's really good to the bosses out there. But it's good, I see, people enabling people to go about doing their stuff. It's one of the areas for people to really take control of their financial future is investing in property. So the best businesses empower people to get that done, and doesn't necessarily mean that you can get everything done in a 9 to 5, but 4 and a bit years ago, you can go and listen to the podcast. If you want to stop at this now and go and check in with the original podcast with Simon and Vanessa, 30th of March, 2017. And I'm trying to think what the themes were back then in 2017. I think borrowing was getting a bit harder. Markets were moving. APRA started intervening in it. They tried to slow down investment lending, et cetera, et cetera. So very different environment now. Still bloody hard to get a loan, pardon the French. But back then, I think you guys were sort of speaking about how you waited a little bit too long to start your investing journey and you're going to give it a kick in the gear. Did you give it a kick in the gear?
Yeah, I think we have. In our last conversation with you, we had our place of residence in Ingleburn, and then we bought our first investment property in Brisbane in Waterford West. That was back in 2017. And then we were just starting to consider the next property. I think in a few months' time, we were going to buy that next property. So we did. We bought another property in Brisbane in Kippering, which is north of Brisbane, in 2018. So we decided we're using the same buyer's agent we were using, and we had a bit of a plan. And we bought out our second property in 2018 in Kippering we spent $430K.
Okay.
So then we had 2 properties, and it was like, okay, what's going on here?
Well, it was pretty comfortable kind of more in the neutrally geared space. So it was far more manageable than our earlier experience of Perth.
Yes.
Which was quite negatively geared.
Yes.
And not sustainable. So that was really reassuring.
So Kippering, so Ingleburn is a suburb of southwestern Sydney near Campbelltown, for people to know. So that's where your principal place of residence is. Then you bought in Queensland, and then you bought in Kippering. Now, Kippering, by memory, is right at the end of that new train line. Well, not new anymore, train line where it terminates. So you said you used the same buyer's agent. Which buyer's agent did you use for both?
Property buyer, Rich Harvey.
Okay, Rich Harvey. Okay. How's Rich getting on? Have you spoken to him recently?
Yeah, we've had some conversations with him throughout if there's been things we wanted to talk about in the future and any development. But we're actually getting development inquiries in Ingleburn because our block's so big and the rezoning happened a few years ago. Now developers are, contacting us. So we just checked in with Rich and thought, what do you think? And then he passed us on to someone in his group, and so those
always available.
Yeah, he's been good just to touch base with and chat about the future.
Yeah, well, if you listen to this, Rich, g'day. I'm normally running the Rich at different property things, but with COVID, it's been a bit hard to actually get together, but always do enjoy catching up with Rich. So that's a really interesting dynamic. So in Ingleburn, your principal place of residence was rezoned, was it? How big is your block there?
It's 850.
Okay. And
that's a reasonable size.
And it's been rezoned to what,
R3.
R3, which is sort of medium density, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. That's handy.
Yeah. So, we had a developer kind of hound us a bit, and we didn't know much about this developer, but we've actually had a chat with a neighbour. And so there could be some future negotiation, moving in the next few years because they're open to it also. And it gives us more opportunity. Not that I really want to get into development, but, it's just another option.
Yeah, well, the thing is that, and you see that happening all over Sydney and in Melbourne, other locations where neighbours sort of club up and get a parcel of land to move to developers at R3. You can do a lot with that. How far are you from the city centre of Ingleburn?
It's about a 7-minute walk or a 2-minute drive.
So I think it's 700 metres technically.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
If you walk fast, 7 minutes.
Well, yeah. And it's funny. A lot of people make good money out of just organically buying in a place however many years ago and then are getting rezoned, particularly in places like Ingleburn as the urban sprawl. And you're not that far from Cambertown, to be fair, as an urban sprawl. You're supposed to say, we knew it was always going to happen. Therefore, that's the reason why we bought the property how many years ago, because it would be rezoned. And guess what? Do something like that. It makes a retirement place a bit bigger and maybe closer to the water.
Yeah. Well, I have to give my wife credit. She did see Ingleburn because we lived in Bonnyrigg. And she did see Ingleburn. We had a friend who lived in Ingleburn, and she saw the potential. She knew it was a bit of a sleepy town. She's got quite a good insight, my wife, so I have to give her a lot of credit.
A very sensible, smart man there. Did you hear what he did? He just So let's chat about this Kippering property. We're just going to go to a break beforehand. Stay with us. Back in a moment.
Whether you're a seasoned property investor or about to buy your first property, finding the right investment property to buy in 2021 isn't easy. Why do it alone when you could partner with award-winning buyer's agent Paul Glossop? Over the last 10 years, Paul has helped hundreds of clients build multi-property portfolios. Paul's secret is finding off-market bargains that get snapped up before the general public even gets a sniff. Interested? Head to purepropertyinvestment.com today to schedule a strategy call with Paul Glossop.
Welcome back, everyone. Phil Tarrant, I'm the host of the Smart Property Investment Show with Simon and Vanessa Ruffalo, who got lucky, I think. They've got lucky with their Ingleburn principal place of residence, and that might enable them to do something in the future. When that happens, make sure you let us know. We'll get you back on the show. But let's chat Kippering, suburb of northern Brisbane. If you can follow the train line up, it goes up through Petrie and Lawton and Kalunga, and then it swings to the east and goes pretty much directly east to terminate in Kippering. That was a really good bit of infrastructure that went in. It really transformed that Kippering area, which was hot property sort of a couple of years ago. I haven't really looked at that for a little while. But what did you buy in Kippering? It's probably zoned quite well as well, I would imagine.
So it's one of those, it's a
Queenslander.
It's a Queenslander. So it's kind of upstairs.
Established.
Yeah. So you got upstairs I think it's a 3 or 4 bedroom. There's a room they built downstairs. So yeah, it's an older style house, but really, really well looked after. A nice block of land. I think it's about 600 square. So there's potential. The yard's big enough for a granny flat. I know they don't do them as much in Queensland, but there is potential for it. It's really close to shops. It's like literally a street away from a main shopping centre. And the beach is about a 5-minute drive down to Moreton Bay. So it's a lovely little spot. The neighbourhood, I flew up there to have a look at it, and yeah, really nice area. It's got a real owner-occupier feel. It was a good purchase.
Yeah, I don't think you do too wrong at Kippering. How far from the train station, are you?
Yeah, it's literally 3-minute drive. It's really close.
Yeah, that's handy. And look, go and have a look at Kippering. Maybe you're a bit too late on it. Most people were on that about sort of 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, sorry, how much did you pay for it, Simon?
2018, we paid $430.
$430. Okay. And have you had it sort of valued recently?
I'm just looking online. I've kept up to date. I mean, right now in this current market, maximum probably around 550, 500 to 550. So it's kind of, moved along. Bubbling
and I
away.
think a lot of people, myself included, has been sitting around waiting for Brisbane to do something. And I think finally it's doing something, maybe because the rest of Australia is doing something. But, I've got a lot of property up in Brisbane, but I've never ever seen it. I've only ever seen photos of it. So at least you've gone out and had a look at what you've got. What sort of rent are you getting on the place?
Good question. It's about 400. I think it's 400.
400. Smells about right. And
so it could be a little bit more. I haven't got my phone on me right now, but it's around that price.
And the tenant's pretty good in there and everything working all right?
Yeah, we've had great tenants. When we bought it as an investment, the tenant kept on staying in there, and they moved out a year later and didn't take long to get another tenant. So we pretty much had 2 tenants in there since 2018. So
that's cool. And those high sets, as they get a bit older, they can start posing some problems with repairs and maintenance. Have you had to spend much on it to keep it in good nick?
No, not really. We haven't had many repairs come through. Just little odds and ends. Nothing major at this stage. So nothing major.
That's cool. So you're happy with the purchase? Was it a difficult one to make an assessment whether or not it was the right property for you?
It happened pretty quickly when we were looking at another Queensland property. Our property buyer, found a few, and he really liked that area, Kippering. It was pretty no frills transaction. There wasn't a lot of issues. Yeah, it was pretty seamless. So
yeah. And you got a property manager up there looking after it for you now?
Yeah, no, they're good. They're good. Yeah, they're really, really good communicating. And, I think you build a relationship with these guys, like, the property agents. Like if they keep communication up with you and you respect them well and they do their job, it can build quite a good relationship. And you don't want to have problems with them also, I find.
No, you got to keep them sweet. It's pretty easy to respond to them quickly. I must admit, sometimes my relationship with my property managers are, I wouldn't say fractured, but they're not as good as what I would like them to be, mainly because of me, because I'm not getting back to them and they just get pissed off with me. But story of my life. So you're happy with this? You wouldn't have done anything different? This has been a right asset for you guys. It sort of fits your plans?
Well, I think what we did after the 2 Brisbane properties, once again, my wife, clever, said, you know what, we need to buy in Sydney. Let's get something, because Brisbane has been just percolating along, bubbling along, nothing huge, but, we know that hopefully for us, it's long-term investment. So we know in 15, 20 years it should be doing well. But we had enough in our plan to do another property. And so Vanessa said, let's try Sydney. So 2018, we bought Kippering. In 2019, we wanted to buy, we were looking, like Narellan Way or Penrith Way, near Badgerys Creek.
Because of the airport, Badgerys Creek Airport, and the intermodal transport that's happening out there, and clearly it's a growth area. So we were looking at Narellan initially because we were probably more familiar with it. We've got family out that way and we know it as a growth suburb. But then we came across this one.
Yeah, so we used our buyer's agent again, and he found us a property, a dual occupancy property in Oxley Park. And he was going, look, our budget was around 600,000. He was saying, you're not going to probably get a lot in Sydney for that price for what you want. But he found one, a dual occupancy property in Oxley Park. So they made it into a 2-dwelling place. So there was 2 tenants in it.
So it's an older style home.
Yeah.
Converted to 2-bedroom apartments. Yeah.
So we had a look at it. It was probably the oldest house that we bought, but the price seemed okay. It was on the market for a while. I think they were struggling, for whatever reason. And then we put an offer in. We paid $575 for it, and 2 tenants in there.
Yeah, I reckon, and I'm not an expert, I'm just a journalist, but you're going to do well out of that Oxley Park stuff. And for those that don't know, Oxley Park, it's a pretty small suburb. It's in between Mount Druitt and St. Mary's. So if you're driving west along the Great Western Highway, it's on the right-hand side. It's a small little suburb, but St. Mary's is and will go berserk as a result of a lot of the infrastructure work happening there of its connectivity with Badgerys Creek and a new train line going in there. Oxley Park, it's very sort of owner-occupier type of area. So how much did you pay for that?
Yeah, so $575.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a look around and there was a lot of knockdown rebuilds, a lot of activity.
One thing we were initially concerned about was there are a lot of townhouses, and so we were concerned there weren't very many owner-occupiers. But surprisingly, the rate of owner-occupier occupancy was quite high. People were buying those townhouses to live in, not rent them out. So I think that made for a more appealing prospect for us.
Yeah, definitely. And we travelled to that house too. It was only down the road. It was quite easy to get to. So we had a look at it and walked around the streets and had a good feel about the suburb and close to the shops and close to the Great Western Highway to get to Penrith if you need to. And obviously with Badgerys Creek Airport for future.
Yeah, I reckon there's probably maybe about 10 or 15 streets in Oxley Park. It's how small the suburbs. So once we come offline, I'll actually ask you what the street was. But so you said it was dual occupancy. So how big was the block?
It's not a big block. It's on a corner. It's about 600 square meters. So It's an older style house, and they've just divided it up. So 2-bedroom kind of little units in this house. So so having the dual income really helped us make it almost a positive geared or a neutrally geared house.
Yeah. So do you rent them out separately? So through a so it's actually split for that purpose, and you can rent them out individually. That's super handy.
Yeah. So it looks on the outside, it's nothing appealing, but they've renovated on the inside, and it's really the one tenant that when we bought the house, the tenant was already in there, and then we found another tenant for the second part. It's pretty easily rented out.
Okay. Well, that's good. So is that the end of the buying now, or is there another property that you've purchased in between?
No, we're done. We're done.
You're done. Well, let's get into that, but let's go to another break back in a moment.
Are low interest rates impacting on your investment returns? It's time to rethink. Rethink Investing creates wealth for clients through the strategic purchase of positively geared, high cash flow commercial property. Industrial properties, retail assets, or office spaces can be a smart investment option that produces significant and long-term return on investment. Rethink your investment options and look to commercial property. Learn more at rethinkinvesting.com.au. Rethink Investing, Australia's #1 commercial buyers agency.
Welcome back, everyone. Phil Tarrant, host of the Smart Property Investment Show with Simon and Vanessa Ruffalo. These are the stories we like, getting people to connect back in 4 years later. And they said back then that they had more left in the tank, and they've gone away and they've secured property in Kippering in Queensland and then Oxley Park in the western suburbs of Sydney. Well, you're pretty much not far from the centre of Sydney. They reckon the centre of Sydney is like Granville, right? So, the way people are changing and living, I think these areas in the western suburbs of Sydney, these little micro CBD areas. So you're sort of in between Penrith and Blacktown there. Over time, you'll do well. So you said before the break, that's it. There's no more buying. You're tapped out. What's the game plan for you guys now?
Pretty simple, I think. It really is just buy and hold and just see what these properties do. That's the simple answer.
Yeah, and we feel much more comfortable with focusing on paying down the mortgage on our house, principal place of residence, so that we can start looking, beyond our work life and getting a bit more comfortable thinking about whether we want to go more coastal from where we are. But not sure yet. Yeah, that's the main focus now.
Yeah, so I think acquiring's finished and we're really just focusing on smashing down the debt as much as we can. And I can't believe we're almost talking semi-retirement for my wife in a few years. We're not ready for that, Phil. But
to be fair, that's the power of property, right? It enables more choice. And if you want to stop working, cool, because you've got a property portfolio. No doubt, you'll get developers sort of knocking on your door. It sounds like you've landed a pretty good opportunity there in Ingleburn. If you can club up with some of your local people, package up something to sell to development, you can do well and find yourself coastal. But that doesn't mean you've just got your property portfolio in play. Is it neutrally geared, the portfolio, or is it actually putting money into your back pocket?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty close, neutral.
Slightly positive.
Yeah, starting to tip, I think, slightly to positive now. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's not really affecting our lifestyle. That's the thing we look at now. We go, wow, we've got these properties and it doesn't hurt us. We put in all the buffers, got the insurances, and the team around us has helped us. And with the knowledge we've learned from podcasts such as yours, and just the information and the knowledge is out there to make it happen. Because we've spoken to people, friends of ours who invested in property and go, I'll never do that again. And we could have had the same story many, many years ago, but we chose to listen to people who have done that and done it well. And so it's not hurting us. We can't guarantee the future, we're both working and all that. But at this stage, it's going well. And if the numbers stack up, then, we should be okay.
Yeah, and I think the way the assets you've got and the areas you've got them, and the fact that it's not putting any undue pressure on your finances, in many ways, exemplar. 3 investment properties, principal place of residence. I think a lot of people would look to and hope to emulate that. And I'm conscious on the Smart Property Investment Show, you speak to investors with 50 and 60, investment properties. Well, that's not normal, right? What you're doing is normal, and what you're doing is representative of what property can be for people. And it's not going to make you a bazillionaire, but the idea is that it's going to give you the capacity to make choices over time and be an enabler. And, I would argue that the assets that you've bought are only going to go up in value. I can't see them coming back too far. And if you think about the compounding effect of capital growth, if you fast forward 10 years, you'd like to think that property portfolio you have now is worth significantly more than what it is with the same debt level on it. If you're paying the debt down, well, that's just going to give you so much choice into the future. What sort of structure have you got the properties in? Are they in your personal names, or are they in some sort of,
No, just in our personal names.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've kept it simple, right? Like, simplicity in property investment is key. And if you can get away with simple, get away with it, because it makes life so much easier.
I mean, it is really simple. And Simon does a great job of managing it. I've kind of been hands off, which is great. The one thing recently we found was, because, like you said, it starts to open up choice, we're starting to have conversations about, well, how do we prepare our kids for managing this portfolio, extending on it for generations to come? We would never have had that conversation. And it's in its early days, but it's an exciting conversation that I don't think we could have imagined, a few years ago.
Yeah. And it's great to have that choice. And, when you do choose to retire, and hopefully the portfolio at that point in time can pay you a nice income. But, when everyone, and guess what, it's inevitable for everyone to depart this great world, generational asset that everyone sort of complains about getting a start in property and how it's impossible to be able to create some generational wealth, or at least give some sort of upside and help to get your kids in the market. I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So are you paying principal and interest on the loans on the investment properties, or are they interest only?
No, interest only on all of them. Obviously, the Ingleburn's principal loan interest. The Oxley Park one has part of it fixed, just for a portion of it. So the others are just interest only variable. But yeah, we fixed some of Oxley Park, not all of it. Just, I think at the time we weren't sure where interest rates were going, and it was just a bit of a safety net for us.
Mm. Well, it's good to hear how this has gone, and it's really good to reconnect. Are you happy with how it is right now? Is you comfortable that that's good, and
Definitely.
No, we're definitely not like property. Like, we won't be doing it full time, and I can't see us doing. I understand where people get into property and then they start doing developments and they become property developers. I can't see us doing that, but it's definitely opened up things for us, and we are happy with what we've purchased.
Yeah, I think in the previous podcast we talked about how we really love what we do, so we don't feel a desire to pursue something else. Not that we were closed off to it, but so we're feeling very, very blessed.
Yeah. Well, what sort of jobs do you guys do again?
So I'm a counsellor,
and I'm an English teacher.
That's right. Yeah, that's cool. There's something to be said about, particularly with property investment, people get sort of obsessed and hungry by it and with it. And for a lot of people, it sort of starts controlling them, right? To actually go, that is enough and that will do. And that's serving the purpose that we need to serve. Let's move on and concentrate on other things. That is such a refreshing thing to hear, because normally you hear the other thing where people just get completely the other way on it, and they forget that investing in property is for the purpose of giving you choice in life and maybe more comfort or financial security rather than getting all wrapped up in it. So this is the point I'm making, is that for most Australians, what you guys have done is probably most applicable for them to do that. And, that advice, if you do get that and you listen to this, it's okay. You got to stop somewhere and just let it go, and then find other things in life to prioritize. I think you guys have done it well. So congratulations. It's really good to hear.
Yeah. Actually, I think since we spoke to you last, we've got two granddaughters.
Oh. Yeah, true.
So that's
there you
go.
So, we're buying rocking chairs now. So it's not all about properties, but grandchildren now are in the mix. So.
Yeah, well, that's great. Good to hear. Well, you guys don't look that old, but congratulations at all. And well, let's check back in. Let's see how you guys are going in another 3 years' time, eh?
You never know. I might get the itch again, Phil.
No, just stay the course. Find someone else to interest you. Go find a hobby of some sort. I don't know.
Yeah, true.
That's Simon and Vanessa Ruffalo. They originally on the 30th of March 2017. Go and check out that. And there you go. That's a great case study on how what they've done works for them. And to my point, for most people listening to this is something that you can look to seek to emulate. A really smart portfolio that's got a purpose, and don't overcook the ambition when it comes to property. This is very representative of 3 properties. Well, most Australians only own 1 investment property and 2 investment properties. So just have 3 investment properties puts you into a very select set of people. So keep up the good work, guys. Really happy that it's all working out for you.
Yeah, thanks, Phil.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, great to catch up again, and we'll keep listening to your show.
Yeah, brilliant. Nice one. Any feedback as well, leave a review. I don't know if you've done it yet. And we're looking for your names on the review list. But if that's everyone tuning as well. If you do that for us, guys, I really appreciate it. If you want to come and have a chat with us on the podcast, you can get in touch with the team, editor at smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. Remember, social media, Smart Property HQ. And just as a reminder, it's out, it's there, it's ready. You've been asking for it for years. We've now made it available. The spreadsheet that we use here at Smart Property Investment to manage our own portfolio is available for you for download. This is a great initiative, and already there's people right across Australia getting access to this sheet. So this is the tool that I use to make sure I'm running our portfolio effectively. It looks at it from a debt level, a yield level, a P&L level, and also a balance sheet level. So go and check it out. It's a Smart Property Investment portfolio spreadsheet. All you need to do is go to smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. You see on the homepage, it's a big thing that says download the Smart Property sheet. We've done this in conjunction with our friends over at Atlas Property Group. All you need to do is click on that button and you can download the spreadsheet there. Any questions at all around it, you're more than welcome to get in touch with us here at Smart Property Investment. You can email editor at smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. It's all in there. It's all pretty self-explanatory. There's some example properties there. So all you need to do is fill in your numbers and you'll start getting a real-world picture on your portfolio. I hope you enjoy it. Remember, smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. If you want to leave reviews, you just click the review button wherever you listen to this right now. We'll see you again next time. Until then, bye-bye.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property, or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.
Bluestone makes investment loans simple with competitive interest rates. Borrow up to 85% of the value of your investment property without paying lender's mortgage insurance, and no cap on existing investment portfolio size. Plus, personal Bluestone support from application to settlement. So don't wait to unlock your future. Bluestone, award-winning home loan solutions. Find out more at bluestone.com.au/investors. Lending criteria, T's and C's and fees apply. Credit provided by Permanent Custodians Limited, Australian Credit Licence 390183.